Hi, everyone. I'm Angela, and this is my husband, Dan. And hey, happy International Women's Day. Women's
Yes,
Day.
awesome.
That's funny, but I just so happened yesterday I put out a video about my mother. She was so excited she couldn't hardly stand it and had to get a hold of us to tell us, I just bought this retro red refrigerator. You won't believe it. I'm going to show you a picture of it now so you can see it. Let's see, share screen. Here it is right here. To see this cool red refrigerator, isn't that awesome? And she's so excited about it. And she was crying really.
It was on
and just
sale too, wasn't it?
yeah, she was on sale. She got it like around half price and just thrilled. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, there was tears, unbelievable tears, and she couldn't stop crying really. And she said that she feels like it broke the pattern of just being in more of like a poverty mindedness. It brought her into allowing her abundance, is what she said. And she was just so thrilled. And then, of course, I just knew this was going to happen. The very next day, my mom is all like, nervous, thinking maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have done this, that kind of thing. I just did a change in here. I'm not sure what to do to make it go big again, but I guess it doesn't matter. It'll be fine. But my mom, she just felt like that all her life, like everybody else was more important than her. And, doesn't do those nice, I'm going to say frivolous, and I don't think this is frivolous either. This is the funny part about it. I mean, the refrigerator that my mother had was just really decrepit and old. And so I'm like, okay, so I guess we can stop sharing screen, right? Okay, well, anyway. Oh, stop share. Okay. And then that will put it back to, we're learning how to do this thing. But why was it that she didn't feel she deserved it? It's like this long patterning that women have of not thinking that they're worthy to have things. That they'll make sure that the children have those things, their husband, they'll go out of their way to make sure their husband gets everything that they think that they want, desire, and need. I have done this for many a year, and putting myself second, and even allowing him to put me second. Like one time, my ex-husband was a musician, and I did all kinds of albums together with him, but I never sang on one single album ever. Now you can see me back here. I'm singing at an event here. I put together an album that Dan allowed me to put together. But oddly, when I wanted to do something for me, I felt like that we didn't have enough money for it. And Dan caught me saying it a second time. And said, wait a minute, wait. What are you saying that we don't have enough money for you to do an album? We just did a book for me, another book for me before that, and all these things. Why do you say that? What's the deal? And there really wasn't any fair reason to say that, except for that it was just something that it was learned behavior, learned way of thinking of how women are just second class. You don't get your dreams. Everybody else is important, everyone else. And besides, not only that, but the religion that I grew up in kind of taught that, hey, we're in the end times. This is selfish. This is actually selfishness to think of wanting such things. This world's not going to last anyway. So all money should go towards the necessities of life for everyone and not anything that makes you really joy filled. But my mother was so joyful that I realized, if this is going to cause her creativity to spark in a really big way, how exciting is that? What is that even worth? What is that even worth to the world? Wow. And so, Dan, he had a woman mentor. And, when we did the Seventh-day Adventist 3ABN program, it was called Celebrating Life and Recovery. And our program, they decided to call, Am I Too Crazy for God? Because Dan was sharing some crazy things. But one of the things that we both shared, but it was fun. But one of the things that Dan shared is that this woman was his mentor and teacher, and they stopped the cameras. No. Women don't teach men, Dan. And they they couldn't get over that. And it was like, hey, she was amazing. Dan, tell us a little bit about this woman.
Yeah, I just want to say, that think about this. This was the church, and they literally come out and turned off the cameras.
Yeah.
And they said men don't go to women for problems, for certain problems, men go to men. And I said, well, this woman wasn't afraid to talk about things. I could tell her anything. And they said, well, you can't tell them everything. Yeah, I said, no, I could tell her anything. And I just want to say this before I talk about Marcia, but when I came out of the Jehovah's Witnesses, the women, the guy could go up on the platform where they give the talks, and he could give a talk. He could put his Bible there and give a talk. but the women couldn't. And I didn't really put the two together, but the women had to sit down. The women had to be together at, two of them. It had to be two women, and they had to be sitting at a table, like a round table, having a discussion. And I didn't put that together, that women weren't supposed to be on the stage except for men.
Yeah, and then there's this one church Dan and I visited called Nampa First Church where we live. And it was interesting because when we would go to lunch after the service, the women were always separating themselves and sitting on one end of the table, and the men were way on the other end of the table. And I was like, well, I'm going to sit with my husband. And they're looking at me like, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You're not doing the rules. They don't want you over there. And I'm like, why not? What is the problem here, guys? I just couldn't even understand it for the life of me.
Yeah.
And in my days growing up in a worldwide Church of God, they didn't allow women to do anything. We didn't run the correspondence course. We didn't teach at the college that I know. I don't know of any woman that taught there. We didn't get on the stage. The only thing we ever were on that stage for any reason whatsoever was to play special music. That was it. And I did do that many a time. I sang and played my guitar. But other than that, women did not ever grace that stage, ever. Not allowed. Women are not to teach men. Paul had in the Bible, which I don't agree with. I feel like that was the times that they lived in. At that time, that was what was appropriate for that time. Otherwise, you were considered to be whatever. And I feel that was why that happened. I don't think that was a command from the Lord at all. I just don't. I'm sure he would say that too if he was here. So anyway, it's sad. I mean, where did this whole thing start where women felt lesser than? Did it go way back to Eve, where, somehow everybody blamed her, even though Adam was right there next to her when she took the bite, and then she handed it to him and he took the bite? I mean, come on. He's the head of the household, which is what churches will often say. Why didn't he say, no, Eve, no, don't grab that thing out of her hand? No, he didn't do it. No. So he was the leader and the head over the woman, if that's how you want to look at that. And he didn't do it right, guys. So why do we get blamed? But guess what? Somebody's got to be at fault, right?
So I think it's like a tradition. It's like, I grew up in the Jehovah's Witnesses, 40 years. And we were told the men were the head of the women, right? The head of the church was Christ. The head of church, the Christ was God. And, the head of man was woman. And so it really wasn't, in my mind, like an abusive thing. It was just, women should listen, and men should talk. And so it's kind of funny, when I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I had probably 10 women teachers, 10. And one of them was really tough. She was a really powerful lady. Her name was Marcia. And she dressed bright and beautiful, and
Powerful.
black gowns with big orange scarves.
Yeah, you knew she was a boss.
She literally walked through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
She was rich.
Yeah.
And she walked through the neighborhood, and she bought 2 of these houses. And when she walked through there, the carpenters would run hide.
Oh, yeah.
They would literally hide. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? It would be like the streets were cleared. And she would just say, I took a level and I put it on my wall and it was crooked. And I'm wondering why. But she had a voice. She had eyes that were piercingly clear. She could see through to your soul. And she told me, she says, I'm going to tell you 2 things. One, if you ever come over my house, never drink a beer, never do anything like. She set a boundary right away.
Before you come.
Because I came over there one day, I had a beer, and then I went over and talked to her, and she's like, don't ever come to my house and have a beer. And then she said, the second thing I want you to do is, if you're going to work with me, if you're going to learn from me. And like I said, I wanted to know what she had. She was wealthy. She was organized. She had things together. And I, coming out of the Witnesses, didn't know who I was. I'd never heard of a Myers-Briggs test. I never heard of, personality tests and, Enneagrams. And so she was going to help me, but then she set another boundary. And she basically said this, and this was hard to hear, but she said, if you're going to work with me, you got to eat shit. And I said, what? I was like, excuse me, eat shit? That's a harsh thing to say. Yeah, you know what? You're saying that to a guy, you know what I mean? You got to eat shit. And so I went home and thought about it. And she says, because she was going to tell me things that I maybe didn't want to hear, but if I wanted to grow, I needed to hear them. So she's the one who told me about the house cleaning, that, hey, you go to work every day, you get a nice check, you get to laugh and joke with the guys, and then you come home and you plop, right? And your wife has been working all day too, but only the work she's doing is thankless. It's picking up socks every day. cleaning off the table every day, washing your clothes every day, and you don't even notice.
Yeah, do diapers, homework with the
Diapers,
kids,
homework,
dishes,
bills.
laundry, bills, opening the mail. I mean, and phone calls, emails, it just never goes on.
And it goes into the night. After you come home, her work begins again because she's cooking,
Yeah.
cleaning. And so anyway, this lady was going to just put me through a regiment that you've got to be aware of what goes on in your house. You've got to be aware you've got another person there, not a second class wife, but you've got another person there that has things she wants to do in her life, dreams and hopes and wishes.
Well, it's interesting, Dan. I mean, a woman meets a man and he's excited because maybe she does have a sense of herself and she is exciting and she is doing some fun little things
Yeah.
that maybe it's how you even met her at some dance class, or I don't know, something that she was doing that made her exciting, maybe a really cool job that she had or something. But then she, it becomes a mother, has children, and she doesn't have anything to say anymore and she's not very exciting anymore. But why have women learned that once you become a mother, that you're nobody now, you're just a stay-at-home mom, and maybe you'll, do some secondary job
I'll
to
tell you
make
why.
ends meet.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because women are used to picking up the slack. And if a guy comes home, right, and he just throws his shoes anywhere, throws off his socks, grabs a beer, leaves it out, and the next day the woman's like, I need to clean this up. She puts the shoes away, she picks up the socks, and she does the beer. The guy won't learn anything. He'll do it again, right? He'll take off his socks. He'll leave his shoes out in the middle of the road. He'll leave his beer, his plate, whatever. And the woman just moves into the role that she was accustomed to, maybe by habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is by habit. The guy's unconscious, right? But everything's fixed, right? He doesn't have to do anything. It's fixed, right? The shoes are put away, the clothes are hang up.
Yeah.
So it's really not, I don't want to make this about like guys are being bad. It's just more like habits. It's habits and then women's inability to have a voice to speak to it.
Yes, like, okay, today we were at this fruit stand. Can you believe it, guys? It's March, barely March, and we went to a fruit stand. It was great. We had a lot of stuff. But this girl, she was saying, hey, it's happy International Women's Day. I'm like, what? It is, and I thought how funny. I just put this little thing out about my mom, feeling so cool that she give herself some love and luxury, a luxury that she didn't think she deserved, and she's breaking the patterning. Well, the girl says, you know what? My dad was a feminist, and I never really knew what that meant, but it meant they believe in women and they think equal rights for women, that kind of thing. Well, she was raised that everybody does their part. So now she's married, and she said that her husband cooks as much as she does. He cleans as much as she does. They share equally everything. They both work. And they lead lives that are equally as important as the other. No one's more important than the other, and they share everything equally. And that was due to the way that her father raised her. And I thought that is so majorly cool. Well, I guess her boss, who was standing behind when she said, hey, did you know that today is, Happy International Women's Day? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, takes his picture and he shows it to Dan.
And it's a tire that was ground off by a curb. And I was like, I wonder what.
Dan? Was it
No,
wood?
it was a metal.
Oh.
It was a steel tire, and it looked like it was put up against a grinder, and the rubber was all mangled. And I said, it looks like a tire that hit a curb. And he goes, yeah, International Women's Day. This is what we have to deal with as guys.
Yeah, these stupid women is what he was saying. Yes. So I was furious, as you can imagine. And I said, you know something, you just deserve to be put in jail, and your mouth is taped shut. That's what I said. I don't know why that came out of my mouth, but that's what I said. You deserve to be in jail and tape put on your mouth so that you can't talk. So anyway, I want to tell you what people said about that beautiful, gorgeous refrigerator, red retro refrigerator my mom bought. So Andrea says, oh geez, she says, love it, and I love she did it. My mom was the same. It was always maybe next time or one of these days. She passed away at 43 years of age. Next time and one of these days never got here. Do it now, she says. Oh, wow. And then Dina says, I agree. I know a young lady that cares for her children, but never takes time for herself. How can they learn to meet others' needs if their everyone is given to them, the children? My mom, they grew up feeling that that's selfish, and then the parents wonder why this is still going on, okay? And why this is not ending. So then Diane says, it's all about having self-esteem and self-worth. These attributes are instilled during the formative years of a child's life by their parents. Those who have not been raised with love, respect, and acceptance can still become self-aware as adults. They can be, okay, who develop self-esteem later in life. They become, so acceptance can still become self-aware adults who develop self-esteem later in life. No one keeps a person down more than themselves. To stay down is a choice. My mantra is, because I'm worth it. P.S. Now take mom out to buy the matching stove and dishwasher, and I say, was toaster, that red retro toaster. I love that. The matching stove and dishwasher, because she's worth it. And amen. It's like, my mom got that on sale because she desperately needed it. It wasn't even that, it was a cool thing that she could get because she had extra money. She doesn't. But she had a very decrepit refrigerator that I'm thinking that it's 1970s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. And she has two refrigerators, but they're both in her kitchen. And this one is just decrepit. And so it was to replace that one. It's really a huge, big, hard to get into, rusting. It's gross. But she would not give herself that I don't know, joy of taking care of herself, her needs, her wishes, that thing that bothered her so much every day, day in and day out. Well, I'm not any better, okay? I'm getting there, but I'm not any better. So I needed a desk. I've been putting up with this desk. I got it from Dan. When I met Dan, he had it. And it's become our desk for everything. Well, now I got a new computer the other day because mine completely died. And I have now two screens. The guy set me up to two screens. And now my desk is absolutely too small. And it really, it's not that great of a desk. It's a real simple, basic, smaller, something that's more higher quality, something you might buy at Walmart, and I really needed a bigger desk. Well, so it's discussed, I just need a bigger desk, but I'm feeling like I really don't want to spend the money on this. Why? You can buy it for $250 used somewhere, and what's the problem, right? A nice, bigger quality desk. And so anyway, I did, I had the guilt about it, like I shouldn't be spending the money. Well, then Dan says, we've been wanting to put carpet in that office. If we're going to change out the desk and all that, we might as well go ahead and get the carpeting in. So, oh my God, now we're going to spend money on carpeting. Oh, again, that same feeling like, it's like an extra luxury that I really don't need. It's a self-esteem issue, guys.
It is.
And if I can learn how to accept my good, that will be a good thing when I fully can accept it, not the very next day have guilt because we bought that and we spent money on that, that I feel we should not have spent on me. Same thing with my mom. I knew it when she bought that refrigerator. She's crying tears of joy. I can't believe God's so good to me. I'm breaking this curse of not allowing abundance in my life, and I'm so excited. And I thought to myself, the very next day, she's going to be wishing that she didn't buy it. I just know it. I know how us women are. And sure enough, I called her and I said, Mom, how are you doing today? Yeah, well, I'm having doubts. Maybe I shouldn't have bought it. I'm like, I knew it, because that's how us women do. Well, I say it's high time, as I said in my post, if anybody read it, it's high time that us women stop it, right? There's been some powerful women in the world, and like the Proverbs 31 woman's always been a great example of a powerful woman who does a lot to make her husband shine, and buying and selling lands and all kinds of things. Wow, that's an empowered woman in a man's world. But hey, she was an example of what us women should be like. She was exciting, she had servants, she was wealthy. And there was Deborah in the Bible. There's been several times, and there's some accounts that are not in the Bible, of women that God had to use because the men wouldn't step up to the plate. Deborah was one of them, and she became a judge of the people of Israel. And she was a powerful judge, but it was the best God could I shouldn't say it. See, here I go again. The best God could do at the time. Look, I think women are equals to men. Women are the weaker vessel physically, but not emotionally, not mentally, not intuitively. And men are just as awesome, but in their body physical nature, they're strong. And obviously, the stronger is going to more nurture the younger, you know. I mean, even in nature, when something's having a hard time, these animals have been known to take it in, even if it's not their baby, or even it's not even the same kind of animal. They've been known to cover it during the night and get the thing through a horrible time. One time there was a car accident, and the person, I remember who it wasn't to me, that it seemed like it was a young person, very young person anyway, in a very bad snowstorm, got stuck and was out trying to get home, walking, you know, and it's not going to make it. It's going to die. So I don't remember what kind of animal. I think it was a big white furry bear, I think, took it and just nurtured it in its arms and held it all night long. And then the next day, it got to safety. So, you know, this is nature, that the stronger take care of the more sensitive, smaller, weaker
Yeah.
vessel. So I appreciate that about men. I really do. I don't want to be a man, and I'm glad I don't have to make the final decision whenever there's a question involved on what should we or should we not. I defer to my husband. I think that's the way it ought to be. But us women are not lesser, and we're not weaker in any way except for physically. That's the only way. And so should it be that, you know, woman has to take the extra load, the heavy load, if they both work and they come home, shouldn't it be, you know, where everybody's doing their part? So I say yes, and I say it's high time that we start looking out for ourselves, saying what we need and want. If you want a refrigerator, you really need it, start to think to yourself, look, I use that. Let's use my desk. I use that desk every single day.
Yeah.
It bothers me. It was getting old, and it made me
Cramped,
feel,
small,
yeah. And the drawer that he pulls out with the keyboard on it, you know, it was just
particle board.
it was worn out. I needed a new one, but it's like, look, just say, look, I need a new desk. This one's getting old. It makes me feel this feeling of, my mom's refrigerator, you know, that feeling. We could get that out of our lives. Why would you want to live in that day in and day out? Don't you think that affects how we feel about life when we have to be on this desk? We think it's kind of, you know, creepy, and we're on it all day, day in and day out. I mean, come on.
It's like I told Angela too. I said, could you imagine now? Now, you know, the cool thing about this is, you know, us guys, if we will tune into our wives a little bit, I think wives have a lot to say, a lot to contribute. And if we would tune in and actually hear like this, we'll talk about the desk, but go back before that, her and the album. I had heard about that album for years, but it was a whisper, and I didn't tune in. She's like, "Oh, I want to do an album one day." I said, "Oh, that'd be nice," and that was it. And then one day, that's what she said. She says, you know, and I said, "Well, why can't we?" And she said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "Well, we don't have any money for me." Anyway, she walked away, and I said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute." You know, and I tuned in. I think us guys, we should tune in, because what I've experienced from this tuning into my wife, this other person, this real person, you know, not this, you know, secondhand, second class, you know, maid on the deck, but this woman that has dreams and goals. Now I get to experience now an even more beautiful woman, because I see a woman now that can share her talents. I get to watch my wife sing. I got to watch my wife make that album. She was in a recording studio for what, a year?
Two.
Two
2
years, having the
Yeah.
time of her
Oh,
life.
I really loved
And I
it.
go, holy crap, she knows music. She could hear music. And the guy was really impressed. And I'm like, whoa. And she got to sing with some of the biggest people here in Boise, Idaho. And so I got to experience her joy and her love, because I actually heard her and I actually tuned in. So the same thing happened with the desk. When, you know, we started looking at the desk, I thought, boy, I bet she'd like to have a really nice, you know, kind of fine desk with, and I could picture a cup of coffee on it, a nice coaster and a candle. And yeah, you know, and then I thought, man, this carpet I can't even look at. You know, I thought, well, you know, if we're going to put a big 200-pound desk in there, we should maybe put a piece of carpet on the floor, right? You know, a few $100 for a piece of carpet, and, you know, put the desk in there and put it back together, and maybe color the cabinets a little bit, because I do wood finishing. So I thought I'll put a little color on them and match them. I said, oh man, that room would look kind of like a little showroom, you know? And then I thought, wow, I bet, oh my God, she would really enjoy it in there. And it wouldn't be like this orange desk, particle board desk, rickety, it wasn't quite that bad, but
No.
it was just getting wore out. It was time for even something fresh and new. But you know what? I had to help with that decision. I could have easily snuffed it out, couldn't I?
No,
I
easy.
could have said, "Oh, look at it, still works." A lot of guys do this. We walk into kitchens all the time, and guys open the doors and they go, "They work. They work.
What do you want? Yeah,
What are we
do you
doing?
want in
The
this
doors
neat
work.
sewer kitchen?
It's okay. It's this," and the woman just
Yeah.
goes, and she
It's
walks,
ugly oak, right? It's ugly
and
oak. Ugh.
she walks in the other room. But I thought, man, and I started seeing this. I think this is what helped me. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Because when I came to Boise, the women were even less, a lot of them. I'm not
Low
going to say
self-esteem.
all households, but the guys were in the kitchen making the decision. I will not have white. I will not do this to my house. My wife, and the wives would go off with her head down.
Right.
And I really started to see it there. And I thought,
Really
man,
bad.
this ain't right.
No.
This ain't right.
No.
And I started kind of
It's
standing
hard
up
for me to see.
for the women. If a guy liked the kitchen and I saw the women liked another color, I'd say, well, why don't we just add a little bit of this, and the guy said, oh, only a little of that. And I would work it and make it kind of like the women liked it. But I started seeing, but then I had to take a look at my own wife. I had to take a look at what she's doing. I had to like put on my glasses, right? So I went in the office and I put on my glasses and I said, yeah, this don't feel that good in here. Cause it's not fun if you don't have if a room is energy, right? A room is energy.
Mm,
And
mm,
so she's in that energy
mm.
of this is a workplace. This is kind of, it just doesn't feel elegant.
No.
And so anyway, that's what we did. And we got a piece of carpet going in tomorrow.
But you know what
Go
else you
ahead.
did?
Yep.
One of the other problems is that, the doing of getting carpet into a room means everything in that room has got to be emptied out, including in the closet, which that was like my organizer thing. I had a filing cabinet in there, shelving, all kinds of stuff on the shelving to the nth degree, highly, loaded to the gills. And then it all had to come out, and we had two bookcases, no, three, loaded full of books to the top to the bottom, big old things. All had to be taken out, and huge heavy filing cabinets. And I just, to me, that's like asking too much,
So I tuned in and I thought, okay, again, it's just tuning in a little bit, like thinking, she don't have to move this stuff. Like I can grab those boxes. So she went to the recording studio.
I did.
And she's worth it.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I actually, I realized that this is what's going on, right? So I'm like, you know what? I've got to finish this song I started back in December. It's a song I wrote. And I'm like, why am I not doing it? So anyway, I'm like, that's it. Like, Dan, is it okay if I call the recording studio? Yes, absolutely. So last night, 3 hours, I did this great work on my song, really great. It's like, wow, this is a great song. And even the recording guy said, this is a great song. I'm so excited. It's called I Am Here. It's God
Oh
talking.
yeah.
I Am Here. Really great song. You're going to love it. I can't wait to share it with everybody.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so Angela kept saying, yeah, I've got to empty the bookcases. I've got to pull that stuff out of there. I've got to move those boxes out of there. And yeah, I want to do this.
And I really love it if those bookcases could be, toned, because it's just the yellow oak, right? I don't want that anymore. If I'm going to get a new desk, but I feel guilty asking.
So
It's a lot of work.
yeah, so I just kind of tuned in and I thought, I could move the boxes, yeah, the little file boxes, square boxes. So I said, well, I'll just work an hour, while she's at the studio. And I put the boxes in there and then I took out this metal rack and I put it in there. And I said, well, I went out in the garage and I got these couple of big bins. And I just took the books out in order. I said, well, I can put the books in order. She's not going to be all messed up. I took them down, put them in order. She kept them stacked.
Is
Put them in
that
the
guy thing? I don't
and I
think
put
guys
them
are
on
like
top and I put them all in there and I emptied one bookcase and then I filled the box and I pushed it in the other room. And then I emptied the other bookcase and I took everything out and pushed it in the
that.
other
What
room.
guy cares that much, guys? That they're gonna take it out in order. So because I'm like that, I want all the same books where they came out of. I want them into the box, a separate box, so it doesn't get all confused. Otherwise, I have to resort all those books, and that's a nightmare. So I was a little worried about that. And then he tells me, "Don't worry.
Yeah,
I
just
put them
put them all in the
right."
same thing and I put them
Can't
stacked
believe
up in
it.
order. And then I pushed them in the other room and I organized it. And then I emptied out probably 85% of the room, doing it. I pulled a big treadmill out of there. I put this over there and I filled the whole other room. I took the chairs out of there, and the only thing was left was a desk and a file cabinet because I didn't have a big dolly. And I pulled one file cabinet out of the closet, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
it was
heavy.
fun, and you know, my wife was so
Oh,
appreciative, and it made me
oh,
feel good. I'm talking about this law of reciprocity. So I said, well, I can lift the box, you know, strong guy, right? I can pick up the
oh,
boxes and
use an
throw them in
animal.
there, and I grabbed them, and she came home and she said I was in awe, which made me feel good.
Mm,
She said, oh my God, I was in awe. Oh my God, how did you do that? How did you move all
mm.
that? How did you? And I said, yeah, and I kept everything in order, and I put everything in so you could put it back. And then this morning we finished up, and tomorrow carpet. And then the next day we're going to put the desk back and put everything back, and all the furniture is going to match in there.
It's been a crazy deal, man. Let me tell you what. I mean, we ripped out so many wires out of this corner of that goes into this, that, and the other thing, all ripped out. Like, oh my God. So that's exactly why I didn't want to do it. But Dan's like, no, you know, this is important. You work at that desk every day, all day, and you need it to be nice. You need to feel good in your space. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. I do. So
And she had a little self-doubt the next day
I did.
or that night.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, you know, what about the kids in China, or, you know,
Yeah,
in
New
New York?
York and
And oh my God, I feel
California,
guilty. And I said, you
California.
stop that right now. Stop it. And so we have to be strong too, and helping them convert into this person that at least gets some of their needs met. And I just want to say what I've enjoyed is my wife always appreciates it when I do something for her. And it's beautiful to see appreciation. And it's a beautiful to love your wife, to look at it at another level, like because your wife can love you at another level. She's not walking around with some resentment in the back of her mind, maybe saying, why do I have to do all this thankless work? Why doesn't he lift a hand? You imagine if she had to come home and move all those boxes and the weight on her
Oh,
shoulders,
man,
she wouldn't have been able to
I was
enjoy the
dreading
song she
it.
just did. And
No.
so she was able to play her song, and I put some headphones on and listened to it. I couldn't believe it. It was mind boggling.
Mhm.
But because we're working together, there's room for us both to figure out our dreams. Angela has dreams, and she's getting to live them now. And you can see she looks happy, and
Mhm.
she's singing and she's doing her gift. I'm doing my gift. And then, you know, about a month before, I bought a ring, or I had a ring worked on. I had a stone put in a ring. It was $500, you know, $500 more than the carpet, you know, but I had it done, and yeah, you know, it looks all cool and everything. So, you know, it's just reciprocating back and forth, realizing this is my partner. This is my healthy, whole, smiling partner that's doing what she loves. And then there's Dan doing what he loves. And we're both smiling, not frowning on the inside and faking it on the outside.
Yeah, and you know, and as far as Dan getting that ring, it's like that's been something that's been like a problem. He had a ring that he bought and he had it remade, and it just turned out terrible. And the guy even added a whole bunch of stuff to it that made it more valuable, but it looked like crap. And it was such a disappointment. Oh, I can't begin to tell you. And so I don't know, 4 years have gone by since then, three at least three.
I never wore it.
And no, never wore it. And it's like this thing is useless. It just sits in there. It was just ugly, ugly. So it's like I really, really want that to get into good use. I mean, I had it done the way I wanted, but it didn't turn out how I was expecting. So finally, after 3 years, we cough up the money to get it done right and redo it again. So now it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And you know, it's like there's always something you think that would be better use of that money, but it was something that makes Dan feel good about himself. And it's beautiful. It makes him feel like this sense of abundance, like there's abundance in this world and it's important to him. And so I as a woman say, you know, if that is important to you, then it's important to me. And we need to do this. And, you know, it's a bit of money, but you know what? And we've already sunk a lot of money into it. But hey, that was 3 years ago. And come on, let's get it done right. Let's get it done right. So it's usable, right? And it's going to make you feel good. And boy, does it make him feel good.
So let's get the room done right. It's gonna make
Yeah.
you feel good, so it's usable. See, same thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like, why is she not worth it too?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tomorrow, beautiful piece of carpet going really
Oh, man,
nice.
it's so cool.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like, you know, stuff you might find in a hotel. It's blue and like the beautiful darker blue that has tans in it. And it's way awesome. It's just for an office, you know. You'd probably see it in a high-end hotel, that kind of carpet, but it's an office. That's what I wanted. So that's what I'm getting. So anyway, you guys, happy International Women's
yes.
Day. You are worth it. I am by the way, I am a woman and I'm an empower her life coach. That is my position that I am doing in life now. I love it. And if you feel like you want to talk about something that's near and dear to your heart, wanting to become more empowered as a woman and getting your voice and I don't know, getting a handle on having a life that fulfills you, then let me know. Email me at Angela's Inspirations. That's an S on the end of both those words at gmail.com. I have a website that's almost up and you can schedule that way here real shortly. But in the meantime, you can just email me and we can schedule something. And by the way, too, Dan is now an intuitive breakthrough coach, a great guy, full of wisdom. You know, you can't go wrong with Dan. So if you ever want to talk to Dan, feel free to. We're again, today is Women Empowerment. You know, Women Day. Women are important
I'm
day.
so glad they're bringing some attention to that.
Me
You know,
too.
I think guys are going to say the first response is going to be, "What the hell's an what's it called? International?" What they're going to go, "What the hell's that
Yeah,
about?"
yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Happy Women, International Women's Day. Happy,
Yep.
yeah, that's the name, but happy, instead of Happy Mother's Day, Happy International Women's Day. So women are important women. You got to start stepping up to the plate and feel that you're worth it because you are. And men, you are worth it too if you're not feeling good about yourself. Well, let's get you on track. Dan was a great guy to talk to. Let's get things turned around with your relationship, whatever it is that you're trying to make better in your life. And let's work on it. Let's work on it together.
Yeah, that's right.
You're worth it.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, we love you. Thanks for listening. And happy International Women's Day. All right.
All right.
All right.
Happy
Have a great rest of the
International
night.
Women's Day.
And hope you all go out to dinner tonight.
Yes.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's probably too late by the time this goes out. All right, guys. We love you.
All right.
Take care.
Love you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.